Brian, stop the tape.
Okay, Mike. Oh, wait. Rewind that scene, please.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind it.
Rewind that scene. Rewind that scene.
I'm Brian Bonds.
And I'm Mike Rizzo.
And you're listening to Rewind
That Scene.
Thank you for listening to the last episode on Child's Play. This week we're moving into a new territory.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting out of the dark horror comic book movie into a lovely, fun, California fucking crazy driving movie. Riz, why don't you tell them what movie we got on deck today, brother?
Oh, I'm very excited. It's about some teen love and buddy shit called License to Drive.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Corey Haim, Corey Feldman.
The Queen Heather Graham's first feature.
And this shit related to me and Brian because it's from Bay Ridge. You know, you gotta have a car at age 16 to drive the fuck to the pizzeria.
Cars fucking scare the shit out of me.
Yeah. Also, for all you listeners, we are actually, in
a closet.
In the closet. Our kids are sleeping, and this is day 59 or 65 of the quarantine because of COVID-19.
If you're driving your car and you're going places and you're speeding just like Les Anderson, wear your gloves and your fucking mask. Don't be a prick.
Don't be stupid. License to Drive, I think, is very special because it also taps into this love interest because Heather Graham plays this dream girl. Every 16-year-old boy just wants to impress his dream girl, and that's essentially what Les Anderson, played by Corey Haim, is doing. I think that's also why Brian and I related to it because we wanted our own personal Heather Graham.
Yes.
It's such an 80s, late 80s, I think it was 1988. The music, the vibe, like the quality of the film. I mean, for me too, like I kind of had a terrifying father. And Richard Masur is so angry because Les just never listens and he takes the car and he steals it. And he's sweating and he's in all this dad apparel and he's fucking terrifying. So you as the audience member, you're really nervous for Les that he's gonna get the ultimate punishment.
One actor that we're so stoked to have on today's show, Riz, why don't you tell him who it is?
Okay, the ultimate dad. We have Richard Masur, who played Mr. Anderson.
Yeah!
Ha! Terrifying dad. You might know him from The Thing. He's in Risky Business.
Oh yeah, Rutherford.
His acting credits is 144.
But after talking to this guy, he does not fuck around.
This guy is as real as you get when it comes to acting. What was it about License to Drive as a project that made you want to take on the role as Mr. Anderson?
Well, first of all, they asked me, which was really nice because, there have been times in my career where I've been offered things and a lot of other times when I've had to audition. But once I got going in the TV movie world, they called my agent and asked if I would come in and talk to them about it. I read the script. I thought it was a really good script. I thought it was funny and I liked the character. I totally related to Les. Much more so than to the father. But that's often the case. I've never had kids of my own, so I kind of see the world from the child's point of view a lot, even though I played parents for a lot of my career. I'm like everybody's good uncle, so people relate to me in that role quite easily, I've found.
Watching your performance was almost like watching my dad. I felt terrified for Les. How did you tap into such angry dad energy?
A lot of the kind of bigger emotional responses were in the writing, and Corey was in a really ridiculous situation, as often happens with young guys who just take off like rockets like he did. He was emancipated, Feldman was emancipated, so you had these two, teenage boys who were completely taking care of themselves, and they were a handful, and several times I had to walk to the side and say, all right, cut the shit. You got to be serious. I did a lot of that.
Yes.
But there were times when Greg just really had a vision that he wanted to execute. And my favorite day was when we shot that scene where he's cruising a Heather Graham for the first time, and he asked me to get out of the car. And I have all these Pampers in the back seat because my wife's incredibly pregnant. And he asked me to take the Pampers out with me. So I get out with this huge pile of Pampers, and he drives off. And then the way Greg had designed it originally, he was going to come back and discover me standing there, and I'm screaming at him, and I said, wait a second, no, wait a second. Let's do this. Let's do a trail of Pampers going up the street. And so as he's coming, he's following, and you're following this trail of Pampers that have been falling out of my arms as I've been schlepping these things. And then let him discover me then. And we ended up doing that. It was the biggest laugh in the movie, as I remember. And he really, really loved it. And it was that kind of dynamic, having a sense of what I knew would be funny and knew would work, combined with, like I said, good script. And most of the script was exactly as it came out in the film. We didn't do a whole lot of ad-libbing, just a little bit here and there, like in some of the crazier scenes. He ended up making, I thought, a really, really fun, terrific movie, which has stood up. A lot of people your age have extraordinarily fond memories of this, and I always know how old somebody is when they mention License to Drive or Risky Business is an older person or any number of others.
How was it working with Carol?
Carol and I had worked together once before. I think she's an amazing actress. She's also kind of a force of nature. She's constantly bubbling with ideas, and she doesn't articulate them. She just does them. You know what I'm saying? So we were trying to figure out funny ways to get her into the car when she's in labor. And we ended up, I think, doing some very funny stuff, all having to do with loading the car up that she and I really had a good time doing. And then we did a lot of ad-libbing. She's a real naturalistic actress. We had this car that was rigged so that we were going backwards, and there was a stunt driver in the car lying down. They had re-rigged the steering mechanism into the trunk, and he had a little window through which you could see. It's like they reversed the chassis. I don't know how they did it exactly. And we're flying around in this thing backwards, and and screaming and yelling, and she's doing her pant breathing and punching me, and that was just total chaos and a lot of fun.
Were you in the car at all when it was going backwards, or was
Oh
it
yeah, sure. There was a lot of stuff where you could see through the front windshield out the back of the car, which was moving in that direction, and we're in it, so we weren't being towed at that point. The first time I saw the finished film, I think, was at a cast and crew screening, and I was really pleased with it. I thought everybody was I was knocked out by Heather. I thought Haim did a wonderful, wonderful job. I thought Feldman did too, and I knew that Nina was going to be really good, and I knew Carol and I were going to get away with it. So, but I was happy with my stuff, but I was also happy with the film, and that doesn't always happen. So, like I said, it's one of the films that I was involved in that really helped define a generation.
Thank you so much, Richard Masur. Holy shit. That's amazing. Look at the energy and the dynamic. He was actually a dad to the Coreys.
Richard's stories are so great. He really is just so real and raw. I love him, man. What a great guy.
Well, it's also great. I feel like he contributed a lot of creative ideas, which I really love when actors, really get in there and collaborate.
He was in the car and shit. With the Pampers and just really kind of making sense of things when being there, and I think he conveyed being a real dad on screen, which is shocking because he's never been a dad in real life.
Yeah, he's never been a dad in real life. You know what's great? You know what's a real dad moment? When he has the ending scene when the construction beam comes down, and you see the slow motion sweat drop off his face. That's some so real dad
it's
shit.
It's all about breaking a sweat if you're a dad. If you're a parent and you're not breaking a sweat, there's a problem. Moms and dads break sweat.
You're not real parenting, motherfuckers. Bon, who's next?
It's the director of the film. Greg Beeman. Listen, Greg's iconic. Greg has done Heroes, he's done Smallville, he's done feature films. Greg is just a very, very perfect director for License to Drive. He captured the energy of what the story was about. And Greg,
Rewind it, boo.
So how did you get involved with License to Drive? You know, what interested you in taking it on initially?
When I was 26 years old, I just graduated film school. I had a meeting with John Davis in which he told me that he loved my student film, wanted to hire me, but I needed to direct something else before he could hire me to do a feature. By luck and happenstance, I ended up directing 2 Walt Disney Wonderful World of Disney Sunday night movies. From John's point of view, I was qualified to direct, so it didn't take much to get me excited about wanting to get involved with it. I was looking to do my first ever movie, and John seemed to be kind of offering it as long as I went in with a take, and so I went in and had a take, and I guess the rest is history.
It's so funny because I feel like the story is like an adventure that every teen, wants to learn how to drive and be the first to drive and, get the girl. It's like a buddy movie, but it's also like about your dream girl. How did you like navigate that idea and capture it so well? And it's just, it has so much energy and such a good vibe, especially for the time period.
You think I captured a vibe that was authentically kind of teen in License Drive? Thank you. I think partly one of the phenomenons that worked is that I was like literally 26 years old. I was only 10 years older than the characters. I grew up in a small town in the country where there was not much going on in Northern California, and getting my driver's license was a high priority for me.
Yeah, I mean, and how was it working with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman? They have great chemistry, and this is one of those movies that they're in together that I feel is special. So, Corey Haim is so great in this. Both of them are, but, what was it like working with them?
I loved working with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. I particularly felt that Corey Haim was an extremely talented actor with a lot of access to nuance. But it was mostly kind of fun. A little bit they treated the movie the way I treated high school. It was like, they enjoyed doing it, but they wanted to get out of it as fast as possible. So a lot of it was just kind of corralling them. I felt sometimes like a high school guidance counselor as much as anything else. But we had a lot of fun. They both just were the characters. And Heather Graham was Mercedes. So in some ways that part was quite easy. And I think we kind of were living that vibe at that moment. And I think in some ways, maybe what you guys are reacting to is it was just very authentic.
What was it like finding and casting Heather Graham?
This was what we call her SAG card job. She'd never acted before. She'd never had a job before. There was something kind of magical about her. And I brought the VHS home and I said, hey, I want you to look at these different actresses. And I said, this girl has a lot more credits and this and I got to Heather and I'm like, she has done nothing. She has never done a day of filming ever in her life, but look at her, she's kind of magical. And my wife was very definite. She was like, are you crazy? This girl is magic. Hire her.
Wow.
We hired her.
Such history there. It's like her career starting with License to Drive. That's great. There's so many, sequences that we love, like driving backwards, like the ending and the massive amount of mashed potatoes the mother eats and the drunk chase scene. It's great. I mean, what's your favorite scene? Some of these on the highways, like these car chase scenes, they're shot so well and the anticipation and action is there.
Well, I like a lot of the scenes. Like the guy that was the stunt coordinator of Lethal Weapon and Die Hard was the stunt coordinator for License to Drive. So we literally had the top people in the movie industry as our stunt team. I think my favorite stunt sequence, because it was super raw, and also because I was right in there. I don't know that I would still do the stuff I did on that show. I was right in the front of the truck, and I was riding in the back of the Cadillac while we did big stunts. But the sequence where Les climbs out of the sunroof of the Volkswagen and climbs onto the Cadillac and swings down through the window and takes control of the wheel. I think that's a pretty exciting sequence, and it was very well laid out, and we had a really great team. I was also taking kind of crazy risks I don't think I would do anymore. The sequence where the Cadillac hits the puddle and then spins out 4 times in the middle of the road. And
Yeah.
I was sitting in the back seat bracing the camera operator, right? So I don't know first of all, I don't know whether my wife wouldn't allow that to happen anymore, but I was sitting in the back seat while the Cadillac was doing 360s in the middle of the freeway. New and young and maybe didn't really know what the actual limits were. There was a scene where the Cadillac comes crashing down. It goes spinning around on the freeway, crashes through this wood fence, bangs down the hill, and then slides to a stop right in the parking spot at Shakey's Pizza.
shit.
Now, all those things were actually done in separate locations, and they were all kind of pieced together in editing. So it spun out on one location. It crashed through the fence and banged down the hill in another location. And then it came sliding to a stop at the Shakey's in another location. So there was a guy named Pat Romano. He was Corey Haim's stunt double, and he was just an awesome driver and an awesome stuntman, and he was
Great name.
from a family of stunt people. And so he came like really fast, like 40, 50 miles an hour, locked up the Cadillac, threw it into a 90-degree slide, and just like went like right into the parking spot. And everyone was like applauding. But I walked over and I was like, I still thought there was like a foot. Like he wasn't perfectly centered in the parking spot. And I was like, I think we can do better. And I just remember the whole stunt team just like looking at me like with like slack jawed. Because they didn't believe that I was asking to do another take.
Oh, Greg.
So he came 50 miles an hour, locked it up, put it into a slide. And the 3 parking spots to the right of the Cadillac were prop cars. You know, the transportation department had put in prop cars, but the 5 cars past that were all production assistant cars, you know, the young PAs who eat the pizzas at night to get by. And Pat put it into skid, slid into the parking spot, went bam, 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 like dominoes. There was like a domino of like 7 cars in a row, crushed each other, including about 4 PA cars. I learned a lesson. When you got it, move on. At the time, Neil and I were also like next door neighbors. Like we had moved in. We were really good friends, and we moved in like next door to each other. And I just think we sat there for about 3 or 4 days and just came up with a whole new ending. So the ending where the drunk driver steals the car was reconceived and reshot in about 6 or 7 more shooting days, and it replaced the original ending. Sometimes I look back and I think I should have been a little more innovative and a little more daring and bold in the styles in the way that I shot the movie. I've kind of, my skill set is much greater now than it was back then.
The director is always the best, and hearing the scenes that he did and the new tricks that he tried out with the crew and the actors with parking the cars and all the crazy shit, these are great stories, Greg.
Yeah. But it's funny because I always wondered about the driving backwards. I mean, to me, that's a massive scene. And to know that they flipped the chassis.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
I want to rewatch it just to see how the fuck they were driving. I don't know,
Who's
it's really
one of
cool.
our favorite guys that we have next?
Neil Token, who is the writer of this amazing film.
Holy shit, dude. This guy is the best.
Yeah, he's done some awesome stuff. And another movie that Brian and I really love is
He
Brian.
created the story for Richie Rich. And,
Yes.
you know, on top of that,
Magnum PI.
Oh my God, yeah, he did Magnum PI.
What I want to know is I want to jump into his headspace. You know, like what's spawned this? Because it was a major hit. Break it down, Neil.
How did you get involved with screenwriting early on?
I got some really trashy stuff published in National Lampoon. I don't know if you guys remember the Penthouse forum letters. Penthouse magazine used to have a section, which they were really famous for, where people would write in their sexual encounters. And they were ridiculous. Like, you probably wouldn't believe 90% of them, but they were hilarious and you read them. And so I wrote parodies of those. That was the first thing I sold, parodies of those to National Lampoon magazine. And then eventually I sold a piece to them called Me and My Pecker, which I think they changed to Me and My Colleague, about a guy trying to get laid, which was
Love that name. Yeah, that's a great
I was
name.
thinking about at the time. And then a producer from Hollywood called me, and I actually thought I was a friend playing a prank on me, and he said, "Do you have anything else that you have? Have you written anything else?" I said, "No." "Have you written anything else for National Lampoon?" I said, "Yeah, I got this one piece I gave them, but they refused it. It's basically how many lies a teenager tells to a girl to get laid, how many lies it would take." And he said, "Can you send it to me?" And I sent it to him, and one of the lies was, "I have my license." And he said, "Well, you know, this might make a good movie." And so that really became the first time I really wrote anything, which was License to Drive, obviously. And that's how I got into it. Pretty lucky, actually. I started at the top,
Amazing. Yeah.
which sometimes is not so great, but I'll take it.
Wow, that's great.
And is this story based on some like real stuff that you have encountered?
There are
or?
moments in there, like the scene when they're dancing on the hood of the car and it dents. That happened to me with a girl. I had her on the hood of my mother's car and it dented, and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm in fucking hell right now. I don't know what the hell I was thinking.
You're totally
I don't even
done.
think we put a blanket down or anything. I mean, it was the stupidest thing ever. But I guess I was trying to be, whatever it is, and then clunk. Yeah, that's in it. I certainly drove my car around a lot. Like my parents' car, I used to like back it out of the garage. Before I had my license, I'd back it out, I'd go in and out, and then eventually I'd go around a block, and then eventually I'd go around 10 blocks, and then eventually I would take it here and there. And then I finally got my license, and this might have had something to do with it also. And I was gonna take the car to school. And the night before I was out with some friends, and I dropped someone off, and she got out on the passenger side on a one-way street. So she got off on the traffic side. And as she opened the door, a car came and took the door off.
Oh, shit.
And
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if that all had something to do with it, but I never took the car to school actually after that.
There's so many angry people in this. I love it. The dad, Richard Masur and everyone.
The dad is supposed to, I mean, come on. If your kid took the car out and comes back with it demolished and it's not even yours, you would all off with your head. There's a no-brainer in that one. I mean, the reason we go backwards is my wife's sister broke her leg at some point in her life, and they were somewhere, and the father's car broke down, and the only way it worked was going backwards. So I always remember that as being crazy.
That's I think, definitely my favorite scene, the driving backwards. There's so many awesome one-liners. I got myself a Mercedes. How is it now? How is it writing that, and how is it looking back at these lines now and like revisiting the movie?
I really do kind of miss that sort of freedom to just have those lines and think like that and have those kinds of characters and stuff like that, because that was just sort of me being myself.
Yeah.
We have junior college, at least in Montreal. And someone gave me a Raymond Chandler omnibus, and I wasn't really a reader in my life, and I just started reading that book, and I was blown away by the lines and the humor and all that stuff. So when you say I'm so dead, they got to bury me twice, that's directly from a Raymond Chandler type of thought process. I mean, it's just, it's funny that you mentioned that line, but that was definitely came from that. And I used to always write and think like
so
that.
Special.
And especially in the prose. The prose is the most fun, which you never see in the movie. It's like, I once wrote, I remember in one of those drafts I wrote, like somebody hits a wall, and the executive at the time said to me, "Do they really hit a wall? Do they actually hit a wall? Or is this a psychological thing you're talking about?" I mean, anyways.
I do love how you break the fourth wall.
What could possibly go wrong? A beautiful girl, a harmless drive, or something? What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, I actually think the producer of the studio who did that, I think it was Leonard Goldberg at the time, who said, no, let's put something in like that.
What is it like to see your words get produced to picture and then see the actors on set, and you're on set with Greg and everything comes to life? What's that like, and how do you feel the cast portrayed the script?
I think that because I got it so quickly, I was kind of spoiled by it. But even still, because at the time when you get it like your first time out, you don't really realize how hard it is to get this kind of stuff, I mean, like, the producer said to me, he was driving to the airport, before it was getting made, he said, "This is never going to get made, so don't get your hopes up." But I mean, it's, I've been on a bunch of sets since then, and that was that was the most fun because we were all more or less the same age. We were all young. There was no attitude between anybody. Nobody was, superior to anybody. And so that part of it was great. And it's fucking, what can you say? Everything is great, I mean, there was really no one, we got Corey Feldman. That was amazing.
Yeah,
and Corey Haim, that was amazing. And the other guy, he was great. And then, the mother, I mean, look, it was cast perfectly, You're just sitting there, all you're doing is, having a good time. You change a line here and there. But Greg was so solid, and he just sort of saw things the way we saw things, that it was just sort of easy. You just end up at the craft service table eating shit all day long.
Yeah.
But,
it's great.
But I don't think I was there for everything. I was probably there for like 90% of it. But it was, I've been on sets where you're afraid to talk to the director.
Yeah, like egos and different like ranking and all that crap.
Yeah, they're jerks.
Yeah.
They make you feel like, like you're an idiot.
Did you hang out with the Coreys at all? Like, how was it working with like Corey Feldman and Corey Haim? Was there any fun stories?
I mean, they were a lot younger than me. I mean, Corey Haim was just a charming guy. I mean, he just had it all going for him. I mean, he was funny. He was bright. He was smart. He whether he knew his lines or not, he knew his lines. Whether he had to improv them or what. I don't really remember having much problem with Corey Haim. I mean, he was great. Corey Feldman, it's just they're two completely different people. Just like the girl Nina Shimashko, who played the sister, was absolutely a delight to sit around because she had tons and tons of personality. Mm-hmm. And Heather Graham, I think it might have been her first set. Her father was there. I think he was an FBI agent.
Wow.
Like watching over her, and it was, different personalities.
That makes sense that Heather Graham has a FBI father.
Yeah.
But she was sweet and great.
And, I'd love to learn more about the original ending that you wrote and then the new ending that you wrote on the set, right? When shooting the film, like how long did that take to create and what's that process like?
I think the reshoot was done after the movie. We thought the movie was completed. And I think I did that. I was living in New York at the time. So I think I did that from there and they just shot it. I know I wasn't around for that, but I guess they were worried about those bad guys who they bumped into at the hamburger joint in the car, the hot rod guys or whatever.
Oh,
it is.
yeah,
they end
the
up
blonde dude.
Yeah, and they end up at a crappy bar somewhere. The bad guys challenged Les to believe it or not. I mean, think about this. I mean, the guy didn't even have his license, and it was a drinking contest.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see it.
He had to. He was challenged to drink something, and instead he swallowed the worm from inside the tequila bottle or something like that. And then probably all hell broke loose, and they chased after him. I don't remember that, but what happened was, it really slowed the movie down and killed it. So instead, we went with a guy who steals the car, who's a drunk driver making a martini on the dashboard of the car, which was the Mothers Against Drunk Driving came out against us in a fierce way. But fuck, we just didn't know any better. We were stupid, I mean, that was.
Well, I think why for me and Brian, because it was like I was the first one to drive out of our friend group, so this movie like totally resonated with me hardcore. And chasing the girl, wanting a dream girl, like everything about it was like what we wanted, and yeah, it was just amazing, So that's why this movie is really special for us.
It was not considered a hit on any level. I mean, it was probably considered by some a failure. It's amazing. It came out the same week as Coming to America, I think it was, and Coming to America made $7 million that weekend, which was considered massive. And I think we made like 3.5, which was considered a disappointment for what we were expecting. But over the long run, it's kind of maintained itself. And and a lot of people, I can't tell you how many people I meet who say License to Drive, and they go, oh my God. So I guess it sort of, has a niche somewhere, and that happens sometimes. So, happy. If I can inspire kids to steal cars and go out on a joyride and bash the living shit out of it, then I've done my job.
Yes.
You're a king.
You definitely did.
Yeah, because I did it.
Neil's perspective, and it's so cool. I really love that. Another actor that we love from this film, agreed to be involved, and I love this guy. He's been in so many films. Tell us who it is.
Oh yeah, this guy is very memorable, very, very recognizable. Michael Ensign. He's in Ghostbusters, Superman, Titanic, War Games, and the list goes on and on and on, Bon Bon.
Yes, he's the best.
The fucking dream sequence, though, was, for me, it was just terrifying.
You loved it, and there's...
Because it's a chase, he's like yelling, it's like action-packed, they drive through a fucking fire, and then he bitches out Les Anderson.
Yes, it's
just
great.
Punks like you. Yeah. It's fucking solid. Yeah, he's dreaming about driving with his babe. It's like, what?
Yes.
It's such an 80s thing, in like a red convertible, like smoking and throwing the fucking cigarette.
It's marvelous.
All right. I can't wait to talk to him, right? Let's do this.
Michael, blow our minds.
Rock us now! Man, you've been in like amazing, like countless movies that are just awesome. What was your like path to License to Drive? And like, that character as the teacher is so sinister and crazy. What did you think of that role, and what was that like, landing that role and doing that scene as the teacher?
I don't remember. I'm sure I auditioned. I'm always the one that I'm the red herring and stuff where I'm not the main villain, but you, for about 2 seconds, think I am, and then they kill me off. That's the kind of thing I've done. And, of course, Ghostbusters got me into the business of snippy little men in bow ties. Hollywood always wants you to do whatever you've done before that was successful. So I paraded around a lot of bow tie work, and including this one. I think when I was looking at the film last night that I may even still have the bow tie I wore in that. I don't know how I came by it, but of course, in checking it, it looks like the bow tie appears, when I'm driving the bus, but also is on me again.
I love that you save all this stuff. That's awesome.
I don't know how I have it, but I have it. It was kind of typical of some of the stuff that I have done, but it was a little scary that they always do this. They often assume you can do stuff you might not be able to, but they assume you can. So I get to the set and I'm presented with that bus, and they spent a little bit of time trying to teach me how to drive it. I've never driven it.
Oh, wow.
And even though, of course, a stunt driver takes over for all the really difficult stuff, I was having to drive that thing around. And as I remember, the location was in Pasadena, but they driving around on these streets, and this is a bus, and you've got all these extras that are the students, on the bus, and it was scary. I finally said, I didn't throw a fit or anything, I did it humorously, but I said, this can be a movie about me trying to drive this bus.
They never asked if you can drive, like if you were comfortable with driving a bus.
Well, they always think, it's just, you just got to do a little bit of stuff here. You don't know if your stunt driver's going to take over. And then you get there, and they actually expect you to do quite a bit with it. Again, it's just the assumption that as a good working character actor, you can do anything, and sometimes you can't. So it was fine. I was able to do it, but I just remember it was a little more involved than I thought. I don't know whether it's indicative of how I kind of felt about driving that bus.
And the dream sequence, it's so terrifying. What was it like shooting that scene?
I just remember being a little concerned that even though I have lots of good classical theater training and all the rest of it, that my maniacal laughing was going to wear my voice out, because you always take and retake and go on and on and on. So I just remember there was a bit of a strain on that, because it was always, more, more overacting, go at it.
Well, that laugh was definitely terrifying for Brian and I.
With me going insane and growling and snarling and practicing the art of gross acting, that's been the fun of being an actor all these years.
Oh, Michael, that was awesome. Really rocked us.
You.
I can't believe you screamed for that long and hurt your throat.
Well, also, I can't believe they didn't know how to drive a bus, or that they expected that he could just drive this fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Like, that's what went down back in the day. It's like, you know how to do this? Hold this, do that, do this. And
Okay, great.
I mean, obviously, there's always careful hands on the film shoots, but like, a bus is not the same thing as a fucking car, man. I know that, and I just got my license a few years ago.
Yeah, you did. You got your license at 33 years old. But dude, a bus is fucking obtuse. You gotta check your mirrors, check your sides. You can't pass on the right, motherfucker.
Yeah, bada bing, you might get hurt.
The first time baby Bon Brian over here drove, he pulled over because he got pulled over by a cop. And pulled over in the fast lane. And the cop was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You can't pull over in the left lane. I meant the right. Great story.
Yeah, it's great. He pulled us over. I swerved through the traffic, and he saw that I was sitting in the car. And I said, I just got my license. And he looked at it, and he saw that it just was issued. And then he saw my son was in the back seat, covered in blueberry vomit.
And that is what saved you, Brian, from getting a moving violation.
Yeah, I think he saw that we were kind of a hot mess, and I was
parenting.
I was worried, and my wife saved the day, and we just chilled there for a minute. And let's set something straight here. When you grow up in the city, they're not like, hey, you're gonna get your license. Let's take you on the highway. They're like, let's go to 55th Street to 68th
Yeah.
Street.
You're in the urban streets.
Yeah, urban streets, no highway shit. So when you go on a highway, it's like, oh no, this is like real time. Go, like, merge in the fucking lane and don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
License to Drive is one of those movies that covers all those realms.
You should have been more like the drunk driver and just fucking soared while sleeping.
Oh, that would be great, but I'd also kill 50 people and then I go to prison.
You go to Priz.
I'm gonna go to Priz and never see you again.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I think we have something special now, right, for the listeners?
Yeah, I think they're ready to be rocked even more.
Oh, I think it's time to rewind that scene. So, Baby Bon, I think we should do the fucking drunk scene.
All right, let's
drunk guy scene.
Yeah, let's do the drunk guy scene.
All right, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's go.
Let's remix it.
I don't care what you say. Just get him to pull over.
Hey, the man is a drunk lunatic. Don't you think this is a little bit dangerous?
You're telling me about dangerous? You want to know what's dangerous? Me going home and having to explain to my father that this piece of shit is my grandfather's Cadillac. Now, Charles, here he is. You better go talk to him.
Hey, sir. Excuse me, sir. Sir, pardon me. Excuse me. I believe there's been a slight mix-up here. It seems like you've mistakenly driven off with our car.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're very kind.
Sir! Les, he just vomited in your car.
Come on, get the stew set to pull over.
Whoa! Shit!
Whoa, what airline is this?
Whoa! Shit! Shit! No!
Come on. Oh, come on.
Shut up, Dino. Oh, check it out. SpongeHead's actually driving straight. What did he do? Sober up? Holy shit, he's out cold! Shit! I think we went straight method. What do you think?
I think we went straight method. I mean,
I was actually wearing the blazer, too.
That's amazing.
That he wears in the scene. So yeah, thank you to all our guests. Thank you, Richard Masser, Michael Ensign, Neil Token, Greg Beeman. Thank you, Ruben Dax, for doing all of our mixing and mastering. Who else? Anybody else we're forgetting? Thank you to all of our listeners. We love you guys.
You know, send us an email, send us a direct message. We want to know what you're watching, what films you love, and stay safe, stay healthy, be kind to each other.
Yeah. And also maybe revisit License to Drive. It's weird to watch it 35 years later.
It's an amazing film, and it gets away with a lot of stuff that wouldn't happen now. And it's so cool to see the innocent youth of there weren't cell phones then. There weren't these beepers. There weren't pagers. There weren't things like. And also, we want to say that we really want to send our love to our boy Corey Haim. Rest in peace.
Yeah, I know.
stay tuned for next week's episode. You're going to love it.
Stay tuned. And also follow us on social media at Bobo Touch on all the major platforms. And we also do comedy. We have a web series called Bobo Touch Helpline, where young Brian and I run a helpline for New Yorkers tackling odd and strange problems all over the city. It's magical. It's mythical. It's Bobo Touch Helpline.
You'll dig it, and there's a lot of other films up there that if that doesn't float your boat, something else will, and if not, we'll make something custom for you. Just email it. We've also done professional hit jobs, so send us an 8x10 black and white photograph of your husband if he's doing weird, suspicious shit.
Yeah, we're really good at PI. Love you guys. See you on the next one. We got a real fucked up movie for episode 4. It's real dark.
Oh, yeah, it's one that's rocked us for life.
Completely different than this
It's time to go back on the dark side.
I'll see you there.
Bobo Touch.